Hello, hello, hello. So happy to have you with us. Happy New Year. Yet again to those who are coming back to the channel who have been here already and who will be listening to my analysis videos for the first time. So I'm going to be recapping, reviewing, and so on and so forth, the first two episodes of The Bachelor and with Peter, and we're going to just talk about some of the things that took place. So I'm not going to get into each and every girl that came out of the limo or anything like that, but I will just touch upon some issues that may have taken place. So the first evening was actually a 3 hour, or the first episode was actually 3 hours, which I thought was a little unusual. Usually it's about 2 hours. So I think this may have been the first time it's been 3 hours now, or maybe it's the first time I've noticed that it was 3 hours. But on that first episode, apparently Peter kissed about 12 girls. I don't know if that's a new record. I don't know. I'm sure he didn't come in it thinking I'm going to kiss as many girls as possible. But apparently he kissed 12 girls and he didn't hold back. He did not, you know, try not to kiss the 12 girls. He definitely did so. I'll come back to talking about the house, but one of the girls he did kiss, moving on to the dates, was Kelly. Kelly is someone that he knew from previous, like outside of The Bachelor. Now with Kelly, she had an unfair advantage for some of the other girls or the ladies in the house because she knew him prior, they connected, and then she went on the show. So they had that pre-existing connection that some of the other ladies did not have, and I feel that some of the other ladies thought that was unfair. But she still had to, go about winning time with him through their special date, which a lot of women in the house did think she won unfair. But nonetheless, she got that extra time with him and was able to spend that time with him. Another thing that was kind of funny was when he actually mentioned that they met in the same hotel that all the ladies gathered for kind of some additional time with Peter after the competition. So I was like, Peter, why did you mention that? That put an even bigger target, I feel, on her back. But she also, Kelly also was the one who kind of was very forthcoming with the information. So she didn't have to say anything, but she did. Madison certainly had a very interesting date in that she went to Peter's parents' vow renewal. His whole family was there. So she literally was put and thrust right into his whole family dynamic. And I thought that was really interesting. And I feel that Madison will definitely be in the top three. And they definitely have a connection. You'll see in the second episode, she's saying, like, I feel like I've known you for years. I believe he said that as well. They both feel like they've known each other for a really long time. And so I think that's definitely going to be something that rides them throughout this competition. Something else that keeps reoccurring or reappearing is Hannah. Hannah, it just keeps coming up and popping up, and all the girls notice this. And it's becoming quite annoying for them because it's like she was there on the first night. She's there for that cliffhanger to be continued on the second night. It's ridiculous. So we saw her on the first night come in with a red dress of all colors. She chooses to wear red. And she was supposedly coming in under the guise of just, I'm your friend. We'll get into that later. And the fact that she wanted to wish him well. And the girls were like, what is she doing here? So that was the first night. Then the second day, she's back and she's there for a group date. And I thought this was just not in good taste, actually. And let me tell you why. So apparently they all have to write about a fantasy they have in bed or an experience they have had in bed. And they're greeted with Hannah on a stage in a slinky, sparkly dress that is very skin bearing and sexy. And she's on stage facing all of Peter's new dates and or girlfriends and ladies of the house. And she's talking about her experience with Peter on the stage. Like, what? I mean, way to class it up, Bachelor. I mean, come on. I didn't understand this. And these girls are made to feel very, very uncomfortable listening to this woman talk about a time when she's been with Peter multiple times. And these ladies have to listen to that. They have to listen to every detail. And they are just mortified. And it's not something that is a fun group date. This is not a fun group date. These ladies are wondering, is there still something going on? Why is she here? And fast forward, there is something going on still. Hannah B is plagued with regrets about not picking Peter. You can go look at my other videos where I talk about her poor choices in these men during her season. And she has regrets. And she still wants to see what is going on with Peter. She even asked him if she could hop on a plane with him or something like that. She did ask him that. And then he winds up asking her what would she say if he invited her back into the house? I mean, it just boggles the mind. This is an actual conversation that's happening with this guy and his supposed ex, whom he says, I think he said it or she said it, has a special place in their heart. And I think that this is a problem. This is exactly the problem, in that they have unresolved feelings toward each other, and it culminates into her just crying and like running mascara everywhere, and they're just having this emotional moment. He puts his head in her lap, which is totally inappropriate, and just shows how much they really need to just sever the ties between them and move on. And she needs to stop going back to her exes. Then she asked him for a hug. This is not a hug. This is a canoodling situation going on there. That is not a hug. She literally climbed on his lap. And then he started caressing her back, her bare back, with his hands, which is a boyfriend-girlfriend committed relationship move right there. This is not a friendship. So there's so many boundaries being crossed by Peter right now. He wind up having, the girls didn't, if they can only see this was so disrespectful, and I feel like if he really had all these issues, they should have did this before he came on the show. Then they give each other a hug, but it was not like a normal hug. It's like a let me smell and remember your perfume and cologne forever hug. And, she leaves because he's like, this is not right. She leaves with this look on her face like, darn, mission was not accomplished. Like, I really do feel like her whole mission there was to get him to ruin his chances in not finding love, because she's miserable because she ruined her chances in finding love throughout this whole experience. And unfortunately, it didn't work. So that's why we saw the look on her face like, darn, my seduction did not work. Go home, Hannah, and goodbye. So some of the other ladies thought that they could finally have some time with him after that date, which they did not continue, thankfully. So Kelsey took a play from the aforementioned and thought this would help land her a rose, which it did not. The one who did actually get it, I believe, was, I don't know if her name is Sydney. I think it's Sydney. Okay, let's talk about Champagne Gate. So as you can see, the setup was quite nice. Now, her name is Kelsey. She had a bottle of champagne that she saved for a year, and wanted to save it for a special occasion. This special occasion was going to be tonight. And she was talking about it. She had the setup. Instead of waiting next to the setup where she had her special bottle of champagne, she kept entering the house and talking to the woman about it. So I don't know if that was the best strategy. But anyway, what wound up happening is that her bottle of champagne was opened by Peter and Hannah Ann, and Kelsey never got a chance to share that moment with him. She was very, very upset about that, understandably so. And let's just take a moment to acknowledge the shady producers. I'm sorry, but they knew there were two different setups there. They could have said something to her, but they let it play out for good television. So we're going to talk about it. Kelsey was so upset she didn't even want to talk to Peter. Peter came to her door. She didn't even want to talk to him at all about it. Someone did wind up explaining to Hannah Ann why she was upset. And Hannah, in her best face, tried to make it seem like she didn't know about it. I don't know what do you guys think? Do you think that she knew about it? Do you think she knew about it? Everybody was watching this meltdown. I think she had a smiley face on. I don't know. Do you think people really just don't want her in the house anymore? Is it because they maybe are threatened by her, or do they really think she's unstable? Look, this is upsetting for her. She had this for a year, and she wanted to share it with him, and she didn't get a chance to do it. There was clearly, a mix-up, whether it was intentional or unintentional. But Peter tried his best to actually mend the situation. So they had another setup with a new bottle of champagne, but I feel like this was just as shady of a setup because there were no glasses on the table. They cut to another scene of another table with the girls. There were glasses. There were no glasses at this table. So he takes the champagne, opens it up. Look, they had glasses. Why didn't they have glasses? Kelsey and Peter. So during the setup, he's like, oh, do you want to go ahead and have some champagne? She's like, sure. What a setup. It explodes all over her face. Sorry. All over her face. She had to clean herself up. When I recorded that intro, I literally did not know there was going to be some literal explosive elements in the second episode because I had not seen it yet. So that was just a coincidence in my intro to the season. So Kelsey did decide to confront Hannah Ann about this whole conundrum because it was just one of those things where she felt Hannah Ann was just being fake about it. She felt she knew. She felt that she was acting as if she didn't, and she really wanted to confront her about it. So that's what she did, and she just told her how she felt about it. I think that, in a situation like that, she can definitely express herself and move on. She doesn't have to interact with her too much in the household. When Hannah Ann apologized, when she walked away, she never really apologized. And she kind of winked at Kelsey also, which was kind of weird. So I don't know if I don't really think that her intentions are really good, to be honest. And I think Kelsey, that's when Kelsey called her a fake, And look, that's how she really felt at that moment. Later, we'll see Hannah Ann moving into her kind of manipulations again toward Peter. But after this, they had the fashion show, and she did wind up winning that and a full wardrobe. Isn't that amazing? So that was really nice. And I think the reason why she won that is because she came out with the wedding gown for the catwalk. It was being judged by celebrity judges and someone who worked at the clothing company. And she also really showed a lot of personality toward the end the finale, which was the face-off between Victoria and that girl. So Victoria was like crying, oh, I'm so shy, but she wound up being a finalist for the catwalk competition, which I feel like her saying, I'm so shy, was kind of like a front. Then later on, I think she did wind up getting, a rose from like an impression rose or like a safety rose or whatever they call it, when they had like their cocktail time after the date. Prior to that, they did have the rose ceremony. Kelsey was like the last person to get the rose, so she was on pins and needles after that whole champagne gate situation. Okay, then we had the fashion show after Victoria got the rose. Then the other situation that kind of came about that I wanted to talk about briefly was when, again, it was between Kelsey and that girl that she considers fake. And that girl decided to go to Peter and basically tell him that Kelsey was bullying her. I think that was really wrong for Hannah to do because there are people who are actually getting bullied out there. She was able to defend herself and stand up. It's not even standing up to, it's just communicating and having a conversation with Kelsey. She is not someone who is defenseless and can't stand up for herself, or hold her ground in a conversation as an adult. And I feel like her running to Peter in the way she did just shows her lack of maturity and shows that her intentions are not good toward Kelsey or maybe even other girls in the house. I mean, I didn't talk about it, but she also kept monopolizing time. Now, again, I'm not knocking her for that because the other ladies in the house can go ahead and do that, but they did not do that. But that is an example of how Hannah Anna is actually, bringing that sort of energy into the house, that very competitive. I mean, it's already a competition, so look, it is what it is. But I didn't also like how Peter was kind of like, I'm not okay with this. Instead of him saying, oh, I'm going to talk to her about it, I want to get her side of the story. It's almost as if he just jumped to the conclusion that this girl is poor and defenseless. It's like bullying is becoming a hot word now. It's a lazy word that, adults are using in situations where it's not the case. And I'm sorry, and I'm glad that Kelsey said that. She said, me express, and the way she said it was perfect. She's like, me expressing myself is not me bullying her. I'm expressing how I didn't like what she did. That is not bullying. You cannot label everything bullying. She said, I was bullied before. I know what that feels like. So this is just, it doesn't feel good to hear that. And no, Kelsey, you were not bullying her. She knew what button to press in order to get, Peter to act. And it just wasn't right. I don't agree with it. And I see through Hannah Anna as well. And I think I hope that eventually Peter does as well. Do I think she potentially could be in the top 5? I definitely do. I think she could also be in the top 10. But we'll see how long this plays out. As far as Kelsey's concerned, I'm not sure. So we'll see how this plays out. That's how it ended. Peter did ask Kelsey to make a toast. She did not do that, which I thought was, I understand she was upset, but it would have been a good opportunity for her to just try to move past that. But the other one did take that opportunity to do so, and that's who had the last word. So that's what we saw in the first couple of episodes. I had some bit of recording about the beginning of other things that have happened in the house when people first arrived. I think Samantha made some great observations as well, especially with, Peter's ex coming on the scene. She's the only one who really communicated her feelings about the situation, which I thought was superb. And I'm going to leave the rest of the audio with some things that I recorded earlier about the ladies in the house. But until next time, I am looking forward to episode 3 and reviewing it. And I will see you then. Bye. That was Kelly, and she knew him coming into the show. And she also won the first kind of competition, which allowed her to spend more time with him. Madison got the first date, and that was, so I guess really Kelly kind of got the first date, but Madison got the first date in terms of, like the planned date, and she went to actually see Peter's family, which was really interesting. So I thought that was interesting that he had her come to see the family and that sort of thing. There are a few other things. There were some interesting girls there, that stood out. Madison obviously had that date. Hannah and had that kiss. And there was also Kelly. So I think definitely Madison, I can definitely say she'll be like in the top 3. I'm not sure how far Kelly will go in this season, but she'll definitely be there. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely want to move right into some of the interesting moments. I'm sure there were others that I'm just kind of bypassing. Like there was a battle of the airplanes, which was kind of funny. Someone was like flying airplanes into one of the girls. I thought that was kind of silly to get time with him. But then she left and then someone left and then came back with like a huge airplane. I thought that was kind of funny. It's going to take me maybe a few weeks to actually get everyone's names down packed, but I will, get their names. Something else that came about was, again, I had mentioned it, her knowing Peter in the past, and then that whole, oh, she's cheating and that sort of thing. Someone was a little upset that, I believe it was Hannah, and spending so much time trying to go ahead and spend time with Peter, and that rubbed some of the girls the wrong way. But at the end of the day, they all know what this is about. You have to get your time with this guy and be assertive. And if you don't, then you may lose out. I remember one of the girls approached her about it, but when she approached her, she really didn't have anything to say except, oh, I want to spend time with him and I feel like you spend time with him and blah, blah, blah. Hannah responded, well, I want you to have time with her. And the girl was just like crickets. So I think if you are going to go that route and actually confront one of the girls about them constantly spending time with Peter, then you need to have something to say. Don't just kind of go in unprepared and not really have anything to say. I want to dive into some of the more interesting parts. That was kind of the boring stuff. The more interesting parts is this whole Hannah situation. And this is becoming a bit redundant here. She's had her time. She didn't pick him. Move on. That's to summarize. But let's go a little deeper.